Rachel is someone I linked up with at the start of 2020 after I heard about her survey on loneliness. And since then, I've wanted to get her on the podcast, and eventually she was, well, not eventually, we got to pin it down, and we had a really nice conversation on loneliness, the prevalence of it, her interest in it, the physical effects it can have on our health, and what we can do about it. I think our dog lovers will appreciate this one. So, yeah, please let us know what you think, and thanks for listening. All the best. Welcome to the Earthly Delights podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. First and foremost, what's the crack?
The crack is I'm good. Enjoying the nice turn of weather. It's lovely out there.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
We just had like the end of summer.
Oh, I know, with a bang.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm enjoying the real crisp, cold mornings. But this morning I was so like, I'm going to go for a run the beach, get the cold air in. And it was so wet. I couldn't see it in front of me, but I was committed to doing it with the dog. So, I'm just about giving in till it's winter. So, nearly. But
Do you think having the dog pushes you over the line? As in, would you bail otherwise?
Oh, 100%. I didn't realise it was raining. So, yesterday it was really sunny and clear. And I was like, right, I'm going to get that sunrise in and go for a run. I'm one of those weird morning people.
Okay.
So got the dog ready, and you've met my dog. He's very excited, spinning around the hall and like getting everything ready. And I've opened the door, and it's pissing rain. I was like, I look at him, and he's like, I can't let him down. So we get in the car. I was like, okay, I had to bring him somewhere. I'd rather be on the beach when it's raining than be in a field. So we went to the beach, and we powered through, ran till we couldn't see in front of us, and got back. So just about giving into winter.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you think it will continue?
I think I'm going to put my hand at my bedroom window before I go downstairs next time, before I wake him up. So we'll see.
A nice precursor. Nice.
Yeah.
So, I know people find it weird to answer this question, but if you could tell us a bit about yourself for listeners who don't know.
Yeah, it's a lovely question, isn't it? Well, our name is Rachel. I live in Dublin. I am 35 years of age. It's not an interview for a job, but I don't know, I suppose I have a background in art. I studied art for a few years, but I now work in the homeless sector. I've been doing that. I've been working there for about 7 years, sorry. I was volunteering before that. So I work in the city, out and about the whole time, and yeah, just enjoying it. Live pretty central to where I work. I have a really big dog that I love and I'm obsessed with. And I mean, I don't know what else really to say. I suppose, God, this is a really hard question. You're right. It's so hard. It's like, I don't know. I love disco. Yes. I love horror movies. I watched a horror movie last night, Sea Fever. I'm on the fence about it, but it was pretty good. Do you watch horror movies because you enjoy being scared? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love the kind of psychological horrors, like Misery, that kind of. I mean, that's just an incredible film. It's terrifying, you know. Like the one we watched last night was called Sea Fever. It's good. It's more of a there's kind of like an evil demon kind of thing. It's not like psychological. You know what I mean? It's not like where I thought it was going to be more where they're kind of like maybe losing their minds a bit and we're following that journey. It was actually, there was a creature out there trying to get them. So it's not that scary, you know what I mean? But no, I enjoy a good horror. Yeah. Weirdly when I'm hungover as well. I don't know why. I think it's one of those.
Like you're already in misery, so you just want to dull down
I think I want to shift my misery into what I'm watching and not be feeling sorry for myself. But I actually have a friend who's the same. We're kind of kindred spirits in that she likes good horror when she's hungover.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I was the only one, but thank God I'm not. It's really weird.
I'm sure there are people listening saying, me too.
Yeah. It's a weird phenomenon. If you haven't tried it, I recommend it, but make sure you've got an out. Got something nice to watch.
Yeah. Don't fully commit to it.
No, totally. Like, don't watch, like, I don't know, The Exorcist or something on your own, or Carrie or something. I love kind of traveling or trying to travel, which obviously I'm going to do much of this year, but that's okay because I've done quite a bit and I enjoy doing that with friends or on my own or wherever else. And yeah, I enjoy living in Dublin. So, you know, it's it's cool when it's open. And we can do, and we can do
When it's
stuff.
functioning.
When it's functioning, and we hope it does. I hope we, I think we're all kind of waiting now with bated breath about like some of our lovely, like, little restaurants and cafes and shops and kind of bring the city with a bit of character. I think we're all kind of hoping that they survive. I think this recent hit of the restrictions, particularly in like, cafes and bars that serve food, I really hope they make it through. I don't really want to come out the other side with just Hard Rock Cafe hotels and the big monster things that are probably guaranteed to be okay within reason. But yeah, I mean, Dublin has so many great things to offer. There's so much character to it, and there's so much art and culture in it that is really on the brinks of the moment. So fingers crossed there's enough support there. Like, I know a few friends who work in the industry and they seem to be getting a good bit of support, so hopefully that momentum sticks up, because it could be such a great place with the right people, totally. So yeah. What else about myself? I like painting. I paint in my spare time. Yeah. So I've got loads of stuff now. And yeah, I'd say I really enjoy my job as well. I love working in the community, and I love working with people, and I love talking. So there you go. Yeah.
Do you ever have a day where you've talked so much and then you come home and you just think, nah, like, or is it just 24/7?
You'd think that, wouldn't you? Days where I feel my throat, sometimes I'm like, wow, I have talked a lot today. Yeah, I don't know. I I always have a lot to say. I just, nothing. But I remember friends of mine said when I was away with them before it, they were like, you literally go from being fast asleep to wide awake, like, straight away. Like, I don't have this kind of transition time between sleeping and coming into the world, which most people do. Mm-hmm. I don't. And I can totally get why that would be annoying. So I'm very aware of my boundaries with that. Like, I used to work in residential, and do wake up calls to the guys, and I'd be quite mindful that I'm annoying in the morning. I'm like, morning, 7 a.m. It's not what you want to hear if you're not a morning person. So yeah, I definitely said there's probably been days I've talked too much, but I haven't really reached that quota yet in my mind.
Okay, because it's interesting. I'm always interested to see, like, is there a certain cap for certain people? Because I've had days where I've met a lot of friends and probably talked for several hours, and then I just know, like, I'm kind of physically exhausted. Like, I can't. It's like a conversation is an investment for me, And I think, oh no,
yeah,
oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes actually I find that would be more if I'm at, like, I know, maybe I suppose an event that I don't really know people. I'm saying maybe I'm there with somebody else, and you're kind of answering the same questions over again. Do you know that? Yeah, I find that very tedious, and I think my enthusiasm would definitely dwindle. Okay. As it goes on, and it's bad because it's nothing to do with the person who's asking. They don't know that I've had the same small talk, because I don't know anyone there, and, like, it doesn't happen very often. But that's the time I think that I don't enjoy talking.
Fair. Yeah. Okay. So, loneliness. You are quite heavily invested in this idea or this experience.
Yeah, really interested in it. Yeah. It's I suppose. Yeah, it came from a few. Obviously, in my area of work. I mean, I remember saying to a colleague a while ago, a few years ago actually, that we hear a lot of people say I'm lonely, and we kind of get so used to it. Mm-hmm. I was kind of going, like, it's a pretty serious thing. Like, it's not. I don't want to be desensitized to it or kind of normalized to it, because it's not. Look, from all the kind of reading up I've done and all that kind of stuff with my project, I've accepted my own self that, like, loneliness is a normal thing that people will experience. It's part of the kind of human condition, really. But when it's kind of something that you say a lot of the time, or you're feeling a lot, something needs to be kind of addressed with it, or some sort of intervention. So I kind of said to my colleague, I was like, it's funny because how often, like, in our office, say we have a big shared space and with different services, so you have people who are working with maybe people who are moving into somewhere or wherever, at the various different kind of areas that you work in that sector, people kind of saying lonely. And I remember thinking, it's thrown around our office so often that I just feel, wow, okay. And then I was a befriender before, years ago, and I've always said to anyone who is thinking about volunteering, I don't know the logistics of it now with restrictions, but I'm pretty sure they'd be able to navigate around it. Befriending is an amazing voluntary experience. It's like, and I don't care what anyone says, you should get something out of volunteering. You should do it to help yourself as well as the other person. If you're doing something, you're committed to it, you want to be in it. Like, you don't want that person that you're volunteering with to feel like you're just doing it because you have to be there, or it's a chore, or and I think with befriending, it's an incredible journey you go on with somebody. And I was with this lady, and when I first signed up to it, my stereotype, we all stereotype, was that it was kind of elderly people, or very obvious. The lonely were kind of obvious, I suppose. And then I got matched with this lady. She was 42. 42, like, it's so young, First of all, I thought, okay. And from I won't say what part of town like that, but she was from a very, very lovely, affluent kind of part of town. I would imagine this area would consider themselves quite a tight-knit community. They always had, like, kind of little street parties and real cultural kind of markets out. And there was always something going on. There was always a bit of a buzz. And she just had a lot of stuff going on. But I met her, and I met her once a week for a year. And I noticed really early on that, like, okay, let's for argument's sake say her name was Rachel, that everyone we walked by would say, hiya Rachel, never ask how are you. And I was like, wow, okay, so she lives right in the middle of this little kind of hub that everyone seems to be, and it was a really nice vibe. But I was like, I knew she'd been in hospital, I knew different things had happened for her, and everyone was kind of going, so I suppose I would think that maybe they think someone else is doing that piece.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And you hear these awful stories, and I'm not suggesting it was going to happen to her, but where someone maybe has died in their house and no one has found them for a while, and everyone thinks, how could that happen like that? Yeah, it happened in Dublin before. It's happened in cities before. It's that film Dreams of a Life. If anyone's ever seen it, like that kind of thing. Where how does no one else realize that person wasn't around? And I kind of was like, and at that age, and I realized then after the year, we had such a great time. She was into so many different things. We were into a lot of the same things. She like drawing and painting, and we were obsessed with dogs. We used to go and take pictures of people's dogs and sit in a cafe and mull over photos, like absolute creeps, but it was good fun. Creeping on dogs is always fun, and we were a good match. But yeah, and I realised, like, I was like, wow, okay, I'm pretty sure the only numbers in her phone were like her GP, her elderly relative that she lived with, and the lady who liaised between myself and herself.
Okay.
I don't think there was anyone else.
Right.
And for me, I was just like, what if she just wants to go for a coffee with someone? Like, what if she just wants to go for a walk with someone or talk about something that's not with a professional or, her elderly relative, who I'm sure was fine, but, she's 42 years of age. And I'm not trying to put my own stuff on her insofar as I'm not saying I'm telling her or thinking what she needs. Maybe her needs are different to mine, but I just felt like, wow, because she wanted the service, bear in mind. So to get a befriender, you have to apply for that service.
So sorry, just for people who don't know about befriending.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So it's a befriending service. So various charities do it. So I did it with Focus Ireland, but there's a lot of other charities do it, like Alone. There is, North Dublin Befriending, I think that's what they're called. Sorry, I have to look that up, but most of the charities will do it. DePaul do one as well. It's basically you pair up with somebody, and it's a kind of a social companion, and it's basically trying to help people develop the skills to kind of, I suppose, branch out socially, and it's just for kind of social inclusion as well. And I just start off meeting them somewhere where I always on their terms, but the importance is that you can commit, say, for the year, because you want to be consistent.
Yeah.
Obviously there'll be times you can chop and change, but you want to be meeting them once a week. I mean, that's what they're asking for, and it's to give them an opportunity to kind of develop the skills to maybe get out there. And like the lady I was with, she started a course in photography, like a basic course in photography, and being able to go in and speak to other people, because she was able. And I remember saying to her, I was like, you chat away to me, like you didn't, you're well able, but give the opportunity. So people just who get to a stage where they just want to kind of grow in that part of their life, which I think is a really big step, to realise that there's this thing missing in your life, which is such an, like, social health, social inclusion is such an important thing for all of us, even if it's just the smallest bits of it. It doesn't have to be all the time. To go and to suss out where to apply for that, I mean, all those steps are a big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was something in my mind as well. I was like, how bad did it have to get? I don't know, but to get to that point. So that was when I really was like, okay, it's not just the elderly, or it's not just the people that you see walking down the street and you think, God, they look lonely, which is terrible because they're probably not. But you know, we all stereotype sometimes. So that's how I got really interested in it. And I think a lot of my role is social inclusion in my job, and we identify that as a need. Like, we identify that as part of the kind of support, you know. So we look at the kind of medical side, and we look at the other elements of support for people. We always look at the social inclusion into the community part of it, because we identify that as a really important part of people's growth, you know. So
just personally, I always, well, not always, I'd say the last few years I've started to really appreciate this as the social aspect as a fundamental necessity for somebody's like health. And I guess I've never seen such a clear example than recently with my auntie and uncle during the lockdown. I don't know if I told you this, but so my auntie and uncle are both in their 70s, and they are very healthy 70s.
Yeah.
Like, my uncle has the best head of hair I've ever seen, and my auntie looks amazing.
Yeah.
But because they were very cautious about the COVID and Roddy, so
of course, yeah,
they really didn't see that many people, and so I hadn't seen them for 4 months, which really wouldn't happen usually.
Yeah.
And then when I saw them, for the first time in 4 months, I was taken aback.
Really?
Yeah. Like, it was really hard to comprehend. I was like, wow, like, nothing's changed, and their diet is the exact same. I'm sure they exercise the same.
Yeah.
It's really the only thing that has changed is this lack
lack
of contact. And it's just like, it builds into like what Johan Yari is talking about, like the idea that if you don't feel like you're part of a community, if you feel expendable, if you don't have these meaningful conversations and communications, that your health deteriorates.
100%. Yeah. Like, it's I mean, it's so true. And there's so many different articles that pop up all the time, and you see them more and more about like, all the research that's been carried out about, like, they're now relating loneliness, the effects of chronic loneliness, where someone is experiencing it for prolonged periods of time, and it's actually affecting physiological effects in their body, where it's like, you know, they're comparing it to like if you smoke 15 cigarettes a day and obesity, but there's so much on it. Like, you can just literally type in loneliness and health, and there's just article after article on the research on that. Because I was kind of like, how do they know that? Like, how can they actually like identify that? And so there's a professor, he's passed away now, called John Cacioppo. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but I've watched loads of his TED Talks. Okay. He's done so many different types of research and talks and books on loneliness, and he's just an incredible, I'm always quoting him in my emails and stuff like that, but he simplifies it down in a way, like, he kind of like, so the analogy he uses, I suppose you call it an analogy, where he talks about how loneliness is like, you know, it's like a trigger. So it's not an illness. You're not unwell if you're lonely. The same way you're not unwell if you're hungry. Yeah. But you are unwell if you're in starvation. And so your hunger pains is your body going, okay, you're hungry, you need to sort this need out, because if you don't, it's going to lead to worse things. He said that loneliness is the same idea. It's a trigger within your social needs to say you're not fulfilling your social needs, whatever they may be. You need to sort this out, because this can lead to further things. And it could be, towards your mental health, towards your physical health. And I found that really interesting. I was like, that makes so much sense. He's like, it's your body telling you. So then I looked into it again, and it goes back to, like, you know, when we were hunter-gatherers. They go back to that point of, like, we're parts of communities. So the idea is that, like, you know, say we're hunting together, right? The hunting communities, and I turn around, you're gone. And I'm like, okay, right, I'm on my own. I'm more susceptible to predators. I'm more vulnerable to being attacked. If I have to sleep, I'm not going to sleep properly because I'm nervous. And what happens in your body is your body prepares itself for an external injury. So that's why your body focuses. So that's why all your your immune system is focusing on the external. Therefore, in the internal, you can develop like different illnesses and inflammation and stuff like that can impact your recovery. It's really interesting. There's and I'm not like a scientist or a doctor, so I would definitely recommend looking this up. But you can go down so many rabbit holes. But when he brings it down really simply, you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. So, like, they say that people who suffer maybe a stroke will recover a lot longer, and there's just different people can develop different illnesses quicker. But that makes sense, that kind of fight or flight, your body's in a state of vigilance. And they relate that back now to today's present time, that if someone is in stage periods of like prolonged loneliness where it's actually like affecting, like they're anxious and they're feeling this need that's not being fulfilled, that state of vigilance is still there. So people aren't sleeping properly, people are, you know, more kind of cautious about, like, again, there's a lot of articles about people who experience loneliness see the world a lot more hostile, and it's just really, really interesting that there's a fear as well. And so from that respect, you're like, okay, so your body's kind of in a state of vigilance. That's how it impacts your health. So again, like, it's interesting to go into, actually dive into where they come up with these, like, you know, outcomes are like, oh, it can affect you in that way or this way. So yeah, it's just really, but then you go back to like, we need it. Yeah, so we need it. You know, it's not about like, and you know, it's not, you know, my social needs could be different to yours, could be different to the person down the road. It's a very subjective, there's like, I always get this word, it's kind of term right. It's like, it's a subjective perception of a lack of connection. So it kind of goes back to like, you know, you aren't connecting with the people in the room. So you could be in a room full of people and feel really lonely. You could be on your own and feel totally fulfilled. So it's about not feeling like anyone can relate or connect with you. It's my understanding of it. Now obviously people have their own perceptions of it and their own understandings of the definitions of it, but like, it is a need. It's like, it's on like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We need it as human beings, you know. So yeah, and I think, yes, it's I can go on for so long. It's just a rabbit hole. You go down, you know. But it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I want to get back on this, right? But just before, I have to comment on your friend, the befriend woman.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
and you were saying how she has neighbours and people that she would say hi to, and so recently my girlfriend came over from Italy and she was really like uncomfortable with how the average Irish interaction is kind of 2 or 3 unanswered questions. Like, my response to you asking me how I am is, how's it going? I don't expect you to tell me how's it going. I'm more just waiting for you to say something else and then we can get on with it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like, not to toot the podcast's own horn, but when we ask like, how are you? Like, what's the crack? It's like, we want to know. Like, it not not like when you're in Dublin and you walk by someone, you say, oh, what's the crack?
You say it in passing, don't you? You don't give them a time to answer.
That blew her mind. Wow. She was like, he's gone. And he asked me how I was.
You think of it in that way, yeah, it is really bizarre, but it's so normal.
Like, what is that really saying? Like, a person who's asked you how you are is walking away without you replying.
It's so true. You go, I'm having a really crap day.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't care.
He's gone.
He didn't want the answer.
His headphones are on. He's not even listening. Like, that's really funny. Wow. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you don't think of those things. They're so normal to us, aren't they?
To the point now, right, where I think a lot of Irish people have difficulty answering the question.
I think so too. I even when you asked me at the crack at the start, I was like, it's good. Yeah, it's great.
Usually I'm bombarded with another question by now.
Yeah. I can divert it now. Yeah. It is. That is, yeah. It's funny that from her perspective, of course, because like, why are you guys asking each other so many questions? I'd said that before about like, you know, I just it's another thing I talk I gave a while ago about like talking about like, you know, people who are sleeping out and, you know, just talking about people kind of including them in society and just talking about people who are like rough sleeping out in the city. And one of the things I kind of said was, you know, if you want to stop and engage with an individual who's homeless or, you know, they're sleeping out and you're kind of concerned about them, make sure you have the time to listen to the answer if you ask how you are. And that was something I kind of said because I've been guilty of it. Like, we all are. Like, that thing of like, hey, how are you? I'm rushing at the door out to work.
And then you say, well, I asked him how he was.
Yeah, exactly. I checked in. But I remember saying that about, like, it was coming up to Christmas and a friend of mine was kind of raising awareness and we were doing some things for the homeless charities. And it was just talking about, like, including people who sleep out, like, looking at them as you walk by. And another important thing is, like, looking at someone to say, no, I don't have any change. Sorry. Just acknowledge somebody. But I also, and I had a few friends who wanted to get involved in like volunteering and stuff like that, and I always said, like, you know, that thing, we're so used to saying, hey, how are you? And not really wanting to, or caring, or noticing that we have asked. But when you ask an individual who hasn't spoken to someone all day, they might really want to tell you.
Yeah.
So it's a different thing. I mean, I know, like, if I met you in the street and you went, hey, what's the crack? I wouldn't think that you actually want me to stop and answer, because I'm so used to that.
Yeah.
But in that circumstance, where you're talking to someone who maybe you're aware that you want to link in with, that maybe they haven't spoken to someone all day, it's a different kind of, we have to kind of change up how we use that question, I suppose. You know?
Alright, it's like, I don't know if we need to change the tone or the pace of it or something, where you just go, how are you?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I want this response.
I want to know. I actually am interested. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's actually really funny. There's someone from the outside looking in.
It's cool, isn't it? It's like a nice perspective, because when you're just in it, it's you're lost.
Yeah.
You're just so used to it. Okay, so I wanted to... So it was a cool definition that you gave of loneliness, where it was like a subjective
I always get this wrong. Subjective perception of a lack of connection.
Okay.
I'm sure there's an easier way to say that. It doesn't really roll off the tongue, but yeah, it's how you perceive your connections with people at that time of your life, or that thing you're going through.
I love that. Like, this resonates with me so much, because particularly recently, I would say like the last 12, 18 months, the loneliness I felt is really in company, like as in with people.
Yeah.
And some of my best times have been when I'm alone.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it's really interesting to me that you can't, like, I guess the thing that I asked you a while ago, and I'm really interested in, is the idea of how much. So, for instance, right, if I'm alone and I meditate, or if I'm alone and I really am just me, and for instance, there's no real thoughts, and it's just like the closest thing to bliss I would describe, right? Then when I come back, I'm thinking like, oh my God, I mean, how could somebody be in a similar place and feel lonely?
Yeah.
But I guess I want to, like, your perspective on, to what extent do you think like somebody's loneliness? Again, you say, I know everybody's needs are different, but to what extent do you think somebody's feeling of loneliness is as a result of the lack of connection? And then to what extent do you think is it like maybe a tumultuous relationship with like their thoughts, or like their being? You know?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it reminds me of, I was talking to a friend of mine recently, actually, with that, and he lives abroad, and we were just talking about different things, and he had said about moving abroad. He, he's living with his partner, and it's doing really well and all that kind of stuff, but he didn't know a lot of people where he moved to, and we were just having a conversation, and he said something really cool, and I remember thinking, like, it stuck with me, and he was like, yeah, the loneliness can hit sometimes and could be quite hard, but he's like, I've a really grounded understanding of who I am. And I was like, okay, that's a really good thing to aspire to. Wow. And he was just kind of like, he kind of said, he's like, I've got good friends, I've got good people around me that, like, I can count on, but he's also like, I suppose I kind of hear them when they talk to me. I remember the connections, and I think it's like, I suppose he's got that kind of in the pot that he can kind of go back to. But I think it's quite a good thing to be able to go back to be able to kind of go, oh no, this is who I am, my understanding of myself. And I think a really obvious thing that might affect that in the world we are now is like the social media and stuff like that. I think if you're on your own, it's too easy to kind of pick up your phone and all of a sudden you're in someone else's world, or looking at someone else's life, and you're forgetting about yourself, and forgetting about, and it's hard to be okay with yourself all the time, and if you're not feeling too good about that, then that can kind of change your perception of other things as well. And I think you can get, I know myself, if I have anxiety and all of a sudden like nothing has changed in my environment, everything's changed in my head, I have tunnel vision. I don't think about like, okay, well no, I've got like, good people in my life who, I'm a good friend, or I'm a good, whatever, and people I can count on, or people who can count on me, and these things are good, and I'm having a bit of a hard time. That's easy to say when you're not in the hard time, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing, and I think we spend a lot less, I think we spend a lot less time with ourselves because we have the social media and stuff like that as well, you know. The social media, I sound like an Ellen. But you know what I mean? I think it's like the meditating and stuff like that. I think it's amazing. I've never been able to really do it myself, but I have a lot of friends who are really good at practicing it. And I think, you know, it's definitely something that it'd be nice things we've got to work towards and aspire to. But yeah, I think I'll answer your question. I don't really know.
Yeah, that's an answer.
It's an answer I like. So I remember you said before, and that reminds me of my friend saying that I will always kind of go a grounded understanding of myself. I think that's a really, really sweet spot to have. And he's right, like he's amazing, and we all love him, and he's dead right. But he's far away, like he's not seeing his friends as much as he would have, and I think it's great that he has that there, and I hope that stays with him, like you know. So
because I think if you can put that work in, like if you have, like you said, that good understanding of self, who you are, then what amazing it is to have connections. And I don't know, for me anyway, it feels like you're kind of like building this kind of like metaphorical armor, and that like the fantastic times are still fantastic, you really appreciate them, but you also know, like deep down, you know, the idea who you are, and then when the times are really, really tough, you can still come back to, I know deep down,
yeah.
And so like, while the external thing is obviously going to affect you, it's like less of, it's like, it's not the dominating thing.
Yeah, totally. It is, and it's being able to get your mind back to that, being able to kind of be aware of your own, like, again, like I know I can only ever speak for myself, like with my own feelings of anxiety, they can come quite overwhelming. So being able to kind of go, oh no, I know what this is. I need to figure this out, or I see you there, and I kind of like live with it, and I don't try and brush it away, but I kind of go, right, I know you're there, but I'm gonna try and put something else in here as well. To not let this overtake.
It's like how I describe it is like the ultimate perspective. It's like when you're getting bombarded by like these thoughts or whatever, it's like, wait, hold on a minute.
I'm not so sure about it.
I don't know if I want to follow these thoughts.
But sometimes you ever just stop yourself and go, why am I saying this to myself? Like, why am I the worst critic I have? Like, you know, it's alright to be, you know, looking back on things, but you know, I think we can be, like, I know I can be my own worst enemy, and I think a lot of people can, and it's, you know, it's hard. And I think it's not just, I don't think it's just an Irish thing either. Like, I know we have this whole thing of like, you know, we kind of slag ourselves and kind of, you know, self-deprecating, and it's almost like a comfort thing as well. And, you know, if you're kind of not, you know, if you're, I suppose, proud of yourself, or you kind of big yourself up, you've got notions all of a sudden, or, you know, it's just ridiculous. And it's just ridiculous, you know, it's just finding that balance of being able to kind of, you know, be happy with yourself, but accept that, like, you know, you're going to mess up things from time to time. That's okay. But don't sit there at 4 a.m. going, oh my God, that conversation I had with someone last week, how could I say it that way? And just zone in that one thing that you did that no one even cares about. And remind all the cool things you did in the last 7 days. It's that one thing you did. So, yeah.
So, speaking of cool things, your interest in loneliness sparked you doing some cool things. Yeah.
So I did a survey last year. Actually, what was it? It was the start of last summer. I let it roll for about 2 months, I think, so people went out. So I just basically was really, so I suppose obviously I work with it in my work, but I was like, I want to be involved in it more out of my job as well, you know. So, you know, doing the volunteering was fine, but I wanted to kind of look at my own life and my own kind of, my own social circles and my community. And, you know, I would, you know, class my community, my friends group, my social groups, like obviously my family and stuff like that, but the people that I was, you know, grow with, have a lot in common with, and spend a lot of social time with, and, you know, that kind of stuff. What does that look like in our worlds? Like, am I the only person who thinks about this as much as everyone else? Or so I did the survey, and
so how did the survey? How was it given? Or
sorry. It was it took took actually a while to. My boyfriend helped me with the questions, and it's only 3 questions. Like, it took a while because I was like, you don't want. Okay, I'm going to throw this out to people. And I made a point of literally going through my phone book. Now, there's a few names there. I have no idea who they are. I'm just hoping they weren't Tinder dates and I forgot to delete the numbers. But I text them anyway, and I text everybody. But I made a point of texting every single person individually.
Okay.
And I went through my messenger. So, Facebook, I've got friends of people I would have met a couple of times. Whatever. And and I went through everyone I could get in a messenger and sent an individual message. So I was like, right, before I do this, the survey needs to be short.
Okay.
Needs to be short. I mean, no one needs a bloody 10-question survey in their life if they don't,
With parts of the questions.
God,
like 3 parts of the
Like, if you got half an hour in your busy day,
No.
But I wanted to get enough information, but I didn't want them to be kind of closed questions. I wanted it to be kind of thought-provoking. So, finalised with question 1 was, what does the term loneliness mean to you? And that was obviously getting thinking. There was no kind of like, there was no right or wrong. Obviously, it was what it meant to you as a person. And then it was like, the second question was, have you ever felt lonely? So, like, obviously, I wanted to keep them short and sweet, but I was like, it's not enough to elicit, like, someone to think about it. But then I was like, okay, question 1, they're thinking about loneliness in whatever way that looks like to them. Question 2, they're bringing it on themselves and they're thinking about their world. And then question 3 was, today, is there anyone that you're concerned about who may be feeling lonely? And I put in brackets then, this can be someone you know, directly or indirectly. So it could be if you're working in a shop and there's this particular individual that walks in, they've caught your eye a couple of times and you feel like, there's people you see and you're like, I wonder if they're okay. Or, and you can read body language. Like, we're human beings. We can get senses from people, So that was that. And that was it. So I did it on SurveyMonkey. So it was anonymous. And I rolled it out and people shared it, and God, some of the responses were amazing. But not even just the answers, the responses from people taking the survey were like, at one point, a few people told me they started crying taking it. Like, wow. I was like, really? Jesus, lads, no one's talking about this, and a few people couldn't answer it. They had really shit time. Sorry, my cursing.
Shit is okay.
I've been really well not cursing, by the way. I have really bad language. I'm sure you've recognised before. We've met a few times. So I had a few people who told me they couldn't answer it because they had stuff going on, that they couldn't get the headspace, which I thought was amazing, because I thought, not amazing they're going through a shit time, it was more how serious they were taking my survey. I was like, okay, and I really respect that you take it seriously enough that you want to be present to answer the questions, and you're not going, right, go on, there you go, Rachel, off you go. And then 350 people responded. Wow. I don't have 350 friends. Before I say like, oh God, loads of friends. No, it just spread. Like, there was literally, someone was like, oh, one of the girls in my office was really interested in this. So people were talking about it, and I was like, just share it. So it was just a link on SurveyMonkey, and
shout out to SurveyMonkey.
Shout out to SurveyMonkey. Yeah, great. But it was great, and then I left it at 350, and then I got the answers. Oh my God. Wow. I was blown away. I was really blown away. It took a long time to get through them. Like, really, really descriptive. Really descriptive. Like, point I had to take breaks because some were emotional. And I was just like, when's the last time anyone's asked each other, have they felt this? Like, when's the last time I've never. And I was like, I messaged every single person I think I know to answer this survey. Mm-hmm. And I think it was like 90, I think I rounded around to about 98% of people had answered yes, they felt lonely. Okay. And majority, I'd say about 70%, was really detailed. So I was like, these are people I know. And I was like, I can't remember anyone ever talking to me about, not maybe even talking to me, but ever hearing conversations about loneliness at all. Like, it's not talked about. So, and then their own experience, there were so many different things that I could relate to. There were things that I read that I was like, oh God, yeah, that's what that feeling was when I was in that scenario. Because a lot of it was, back to what you said, was a lot of people who felt lonely in social circumstances. So like social events, being out, that was a big thing for people. The pressure to feel like they should be out. You know, a lot of people talked about, you know, if they don't go out, they'll be forgotten. Feeling like they're the ones to always initiate contact with their friends. To feel like, I remember one thing really stuck out was somebody said, I'm embarrassed at how often I'm at a loose end. And I was like, okay. I was like, I've felt that sometimes. I've been there. You know, another one stuck out to me was my friends have no idea what goes on in my head sometimes. And I don't think that was necessarily like they're going to do something to themselves and like that. I think it was more of a, they don't feel connected.
Okay.
That's what I got from it, because the rest of the answer was quite like, you know, I'm out, I'm not my real me, I'm putting on this facade because I feel if I'm not out I might get forgotten about, because, you know, and there was a lot in it, and like, you know, and then looking at people's, I suppose, being able to see like what someone would identify as loneliness be, and then to see their own personal feelings on it, you're like, oh wow. So feeling like my majority consensus was feeling like no one understands you, or no one has your back, or no one will notice if you're not around. And that was a really one. I was like, okay, I felt that. Like, I've felt that over the years, and for my own kind of personal anxieties and stuff. And then like the one about being worried about people, like what I found really interesting as well was that there was the obvious ones. There's people talking about like elderly relatives or that kind of thing. There was a lot of people talking about like people of their own age group, so like their siblings, cousins, in-laws. There was a lot of that, and I was like, I've never, and like there was a lot of worry, and there was even people kind of, one person had written as they were writing it, it was a really long response. It was like, yeah, I really should get in touch with her. And I was like, okay. And even if you don't, if I'm getting you thinking about it now, and it was really moving. There was so much. There was people who felt lonely in their marriages. There was people who felt lonely in relationships past and present. There was people who felt lonely in work. There was people that felt lonely because they just had a child. People who have suffered a trauma that no one understands, and they don't, like, you know, they don't know anyone else who suffered that trauma, so they don't think they could have anyone to relate to them. You know, it was just, there was so much. People who felt under financial pressure, they couldn't keep up with going out all the time, or they had stuff going on, and they felt, okay, again, back to that, if I'm not out, I'll be forgotten. And I was like, wow, this is all really, like, this is what our generation looks like for loneliness. Well, I mean, within my community in Ireland, but like, it's, it was really, really eye-opening stuff. I was just like, God, like, we never talk about this. Like, and I can relate to a lot of this stuff at different times. And that's the thing, it was never like I don't remember anyone saying that I've been lonely all the time, but like definitely understanding what it means to be lonely at different times, you know. And I think that's, again, when it brought into the third question, there was a lot of, by the time they got to the third question, there was a lot of empathy there. There was a lot of like, okay, I've reminded myself what this feels like, and now I'm talking about this person. So, okay, and then maybe looking at it from that way as well. But yeah, it was incredible. I couldn't believe 250 people. Like, I don't know what I expected, but didn't expect that. So it definitely reassured me that I wasn't on my own thinking about loneliness, you know. And then I just, that was that. And you know, I still have like obviously my notes from it and the data and stuff like that, and I go back over it from time to time just to refresh and just to try and kind of pull out different themes from it to kind of look at again, because it's not going anywhere, and it's not, you know, I think again it's about normalizing conversations about, because it's a taboo about it. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, it's, you know, I think for me, and I'll talk about my own personal feelings about my own self, would be more like, because I say that because I don't like giving advice on this kind of stuff. I think everyone kind of can understand what works for them or whatever. But, you know, I think my own taboo and stigma around it is that, like, I don't want to be seen on my own, because I mean that looks like I'm a failure of some way, or I'm not someone that people want to be around, or, you know, and that might turn people off being around me. And, you know, and things like, I remember like a few friends of mine, was it last year? I don't know what it was, and again, one of my friends had said, throw a comment, there's a few of them going on this holiday, and I would have loved to go on this holiday, and I wasn't invited. And like, looking now, like, obviously I could have gone to that holiday, but I wasn't invited, and I felt so left out. And I was like, Rachel, you're 35 years of age, you feel left out. And I shared this with a few people, and they're like, I felt that. It's crap, like, you know. And again, we could talk about social media, that doesn't bloody help. You see, like, oh, they're out for a nice lunch, look at them. And but you know, but that feeling of like, you get tunnel vision, you forget, you can't just take a step back and go, okay, right, look at, there's variables here as to why maybe you weren't in the line of invitations, or, you know, for whatever reason. But that moment, it's a sinking feeling, and you feel a bit of a, oh, okay, no, that's not good. Maybe, and then you get into yourself, and it's like, why didn't they invite you? And that can be, again, that thing of like being able to manage it, and as you said, like with that armor, being able to go, well, actually, no, let's take a step back here. But that they were the things that, like, I'm able to identify as, I suppose, a connection to loneliness now, because I saw it in that email. But I feel more comfortable saying that because I know how many people can relate.
Yeah.
Do you know? I don't know, how in hell would have I admitted that before the survey? You know, I would have sat there quiet. And the thing is, as well, it's the pressure to seem like you're not phased. You know, it's I know I'm grand. You know, and it's you want to seem like nothing bothers you. You know, it's true. And I you know, there was loads of other things. I remember saying before, one of my friends were talking about, again, the pressures, and I've had a lot more conversations with people now about it, and people are very open about having conversations. Now, I know, maybe if they just say it to me, because obviously they know that I've read other people's, and they know that I'm not going to look at them as if they're on their own with this. But, like, you know, even for example, like people who are single, for example, and if it's a thing that they want to meet somebody, like I was single for years, and yeah, there were times I wanted to meet somebody, and I absolutely, you know, perfectly fine for the majority of the time on my own, but like, I wanted to meet somebody. But again, it's that thing of like, God, I don't want to say that though, I don't want it to come across, but you know, and it's like, I remember saying, like, would it really, how many matches would you get on your Tinder profile if you had, I'm lonely and I'd like to meet someone? Like, not very many, let's be honest, you know. And it's just crazy, because it's normal to reach that point if you want it. And then some people are perfectly happy and don't get a point where they want to meet a partner, and that's grand. I'm just saying that, like, for people that do, there's this pressure to seem totally fine with it, and to, you know, and you really have to have a safe space to go, actually, do you know what, like, I'm a bit lonely, I would like to. And maybe it's not even having a partner, maybe it's just like being more connected with a friend, you know, or meeting someone of similar interests and wanting to meet friends. Like, I see there's a lot more kind of online things to actually just make friends, not just like a relationship. But again, it's that thing of like, oh God, do I say I'm lonely? Like, I don't think I should. And then it's, but like, there's a very slim chance that anyone you say I feel lonely to is not going to know what you're talking about, or at least understand it.
Or if they do, judge, it's probably because they haven't examined that loneliness in themselves.
Absolutely. And, you know, and I think, like, it's so important to, you know, be able to talk about it. Like, I remember I found really strange, again, when I was looking into all these rabbit holes I was going down about it, and how, like, normal it is to feel, just as, you know, it's normal to feel anxious, upset, angry. They're not particularly enjoyable feelings, but they're part of it. And maybe we need to have them, because then we appreciate feeling happy, and we appreciate feeling excited, we appreciate feeling all these different things, because they're comparable, I suppose. But, like, you know, saying that, you know, I was saying to my friend that I find it funny that I would find myself more comfortable, I don't know if I said this to you before, around sitting with someone who tells me that they've been, say, diagnosed with depression, or they feel like they have something as serious as depression, or as serious as, like, anxiety, or something like that's actually quite a serious health ailment for people. Why am I more comfortable hearing someone tell me that than I am that someone tell me they're lonely? When loneliness isn't an illness, it can be an absolute pathway to these kind of illnesses, but it's not. But yeah, I'm more comfortable in a situation of something that's more serious. It's because we haven't, I feel it's because we haven't addressed the little taboo around it, and to go, you know, we're so much awareness about mental health, and rightly so, not enough yet, but I think we're on the road to that, and I think it's a lot more awareness about it, but I don't think there's any more awareness about the other little things in between. You know, you can't just go from like being healthy to unhealthy. There could be things in between that maybe can be addressed in time to stop yourself going into starvation. Like, you know, eat something, you know, fulfill that need, and don't go down that road. And maybe the answer is now when to just talk to a friend or talk to someone that you could trust and go, yeah, I'm feeling left out of things. I'm feeling disconnected. And you might not be able to explain why or understand why,
but you know you feel it.
But if you know you feel it, you know, and I know that from anxiety, it's the most annoying thing when I get anxiety is when I can't identify a trigger. It's so much easier, I think, if you can go, oh, I'm anxious because that thing happened. You don't know why you're anxious? It's so annoying. So, I don't know, that's my feeling. My tuppence worth on it anyway.
It's a good point. I mean, several good points, but the idea that the uncomfortable nature that some people have expressing their loneliness actually perpetuates this loneliness.
Yeah.
So like, I'm feeling lonely, but now I don't really want to say it.
Yeah.
And that's only going to make it worse
Exactly.
because people are going to communicate with you like you don't experience this. And then to me, like, you're kind of denying a part of your existence. Like, it's like
totally, I agree with that. Yeah.
This is, and then if you can't express this part of you, how are you going to connect with people? Or like, how do you have a deep connection with someone where you're keeping something in check?
Yeah, hiding it away. Yeah. That's so true. You feel you get lonely in your feelings of loneliness because you're embarrassed about it. I'm embarrassed about it, but like, tell you now, if you look at the survey I did, there's nobody, I'm pretty confident there's nobody I know that I couldn't say I feel a certain way. Now, not that I'd be going around telling everyone I know and people I just met, you know, but I think it was, again, that's why I was able to go back to people with the responses, just to kind of go, look at, like, if you're feeling something, just please know that you're not going to shock people. Yeah. You're not going to disgust people or horrify people. You know, you know you're not, and that's just how it is, regardless of anything else. But it's very important that we're aware of it, and it's very important that, you know, we're aware of other people's. It's not easy to reach out, so sometimes it's important for other people, and I don't think that like everyone's responsible for everyone else. I do feel though that it's important that we extend, you know, we look left and right where we can. We just extend that bit out, you know. If you feel that someone's a little bit out of sorts, maybe they're fine, maybe they have a time of their own, maybe whatever. But if you're good saying something, then it costs nothing to send a message, make a quick call. Or do you know what I love? Even sending someone you know, I find a random message from someone. Do you ever get like someone who just you haven't spoken to in a while, and they'll send you a video or something, or an article that they'll go, I think you'd love this. I just think it's so nice to think, oh God, they're thinking about me today. That's really nice. You know, isn't it? And it doesn't have to be a big spiel of like, oh, I haven't spoken to you in a while. How's it? You don't even, I just don't know. I mean, obviously it depends for different people, but I know that's what works for me. And I have a lot of friends that I find that we've kind of, a few of us have adopted this thing of like, when you're thinking about somebody, just let them know. Even send them a little message, but like, hey, I was thinking about you today. Hope you're doing well, blah, blah, blah. Like, it'd be so simple. And the feeling of getting a message like that, it's just, it can put a pep in your step, regard, you know. And so just look at different ways that are appropriate and that you feel comfortable doing. But yeah, keeping an eye out, like, you know, being aware of other people, because it is difficult, like reaching out for help or reaching out to offer support as well. It's important to do both where you can. It's not always easy, of course, and I'll never say to them, oh, just talk to someone, because that's not easy. Like, it's not. Like, I know I said before, I love talking, but there are things I don't feel comfortable talking about. And I would never put my expectations on somebody else as well. So, yeah, no, it's a real eye-opener. It definitely got a much broader understanding of what it looks like in my group. In my community,
like, yeah. And so then you read the survey, you read all the responses, and then you think, right, what's the next? What's next?
Yeah, I was like, I have to do something with this. There's so much personal, emotional, really beautiful data, I would have called that, because I just felt this moment of like, oh, I'm not alone in this, which I'm not taking comfort in other people's feelings of misfortune or negative experiences. It was more, okay, I gotta do so I looked at the survey, and it tells you like it took average like 3.5 minutes to complete the survey.
Okay.
So I was like, right, if I can make people stop in their track, because everyone's just too busy. We're all too busy. I'm guilty of saying I'll be sitting on my arse at home like, oh, I'm just too busy, catching up on EastEnders. But I felt, right, if I can make people, I think the problem with loneliness personally is that we just don't think about it. And why would we think about it all the time? But we don't think about it enough. I don't think we think about it enough. I don't think we think about it in ourselves, about people around us. It's not something, again, we're still going back to the idea we don't talk about it. But so I was like, okay, if I can get 350 people to take averagely 3.5 minutes out of their day, and like the results show they really thought about it, to just stop and think about loneliness, like how can I kind of maybe keep that up or you utilize that? So then I got into the idea of I went back again. I made the point of messaging back every single person I'd messaged. Now I don't know who answered what questions, but I went back with the results and made a point. I like the idea of I don't like doing big group. We see people. I like saying it was WhatsApp messages or on a messenger. So it was people take their time to read it with the kind of general gist of the survey results. And I explained then that I would like to continue sending weekly emails, creating a mailing list and sending weekly emails. And the emails would just simply be, the idea behind the email would be like a little kind of reminder to think about loneliness. Just stop for a minute and just go. And it won't be necessarily the same day every week, same time. It could be random. But the idea was that it was going to be a little nudge. So for the people who answered, oh, I'm really worried about my sister, or I'm really worried about A, B, or C, to think about them. Or think about yourself. Like if you're feeling lonely, maybe what are you going to do about it? How are you going to help yourself if you can? So yeah, everyone now, I don't know, they're afraid to say no to me, but everyone said yeah. And so basically I kind of pulled a lot of the themes from the survey, and I just kind of spent time just doing research on the area, and I just looking up articles. The Guardian always do really good articles on it, and there's a lot of really good websites and references you can go to. And then, as I said, that guy John Cacioppo, like his TED Talks are incredible. Like, so just kind of giving myself every week going down these little rabbit holes, and it was good because it gave me, the kind of goals. So I was like, right, I want to actually sit down. This is my homework for the week. And so looking at different areas, and I'd send off an email, and it was basically the emails are basically, I just share links to articles that I find really interesting. I give my own kind of personal opinion of it, and maybe the odd time I'll tie in a personal experience or how I feel about this thing, and then just talk about it. It's a very, very informal style email. It's, the language isn't always the best, and, I'm just very casual, but I like it to be quite normal. I want it to feel like it's me talking to you.
This is why I love. I'm in the mailing list for people listening, and why I love it so much is how it's like initially foreign. So people who might work in an office probably receive a lot of emails and probably get to, hey, hope you're doing well. So this person probably doesn't hope I'm doing too well, and they're not waiting for my response. I can't tell you actually I'm not doing that well. Yeah. But what I like about when you get your email, you say like, oh, how are you guys doing? This is how I'm doing, and it could be good, it could not be good, or whatever. But it's refreshing to like see informality, like authenticity in such a mode that has been so like manipulated and so like cut down. It's like, this is the structure of the email. You say this is. So that's my favorite thing. Is just after getting emails all day about this and this, and then you just go, real person. I enjoy the tangents of them, because I'm just like, I'm gonna go off on this. Oh, I thought of this thing and like that. But it's exploring it, and like
what I love about it is they're non-replyable, and you give me some good replies, and some people do like to reply, and it's great. I always love when people reply, but there's no pressure.
Yeah.
And it's amazing me. There's so many people on the mailing list. I forget how many people are on it. So like some will rant like when we used to, back in the good old days, we could actually meet in bars and hang out with friends and stuff like that. You know, people would just randomly bring it up. I'm like, oh, you're on the mailing list. Oh, okay, cool. And oh, you're reading them. And I sort of like, do you read them? They're like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool.
Nice.
But you know, and there's some people. I get a message from someone every now and again, and they'll be like, you know, this really resonated with me, or they generally do, but this one in particular. And I'm like, okay. And just even if it takes one person to go, yeah. And I've actually connected with a few people through them, like people that I would have kind of know. Now we hang out a lot, or we stay in touch a lot, and I love that. We've kind of just got through this piece, and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, we have a lot in common, and that's been really cool. I really enjoyed that. And just the feedback's been amazing. Like, it's just, and as I said, like, even if people don't even open the emails, if they just see my name and go, oh, I must ring that person, that's enough. Because it's kind of like a background noise. It's like a little kind of conditioning, kind of like little nudge. And some weeks I don't do them if I'm really busy, and I've kind of let myself go with that pressure and just kind of, it's been fine, you know, banging down my door looking for it. But it's kind of like that little reminder, and just that little push, and it's, you know, kind of, and if I had a view like this, I can't get out of the feedback. It's just been so positive, but I'm enjoying that background noise. And then people will send me articles they find, as I said before. I'm like, oh, right, okay, cool, and get people thinking about it. So it's been really enjoyable because I'm enjoying reading up myself, you know. And then I've had some people asking to join it, and just people getting involved and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a bit really fun. It's fun sounds a bit weird, but it's I really find it fun and enjoyable because I feel like I'm connecting with people with it, you know. So yeah, it's been, I'm doing that like over a year now.
Really?
Doing emails. Yeah, it was like, I think it would come up to, you know, yeah, it was last September I started the emails. So yeah, I told you I can talk a lot. But, yeah,
that's great. And the hope, what's the aspiration for, like, say, like the next year, like our dream scenario? How do you pick up this momentum from it?
So I you know, we've had a lot of projects kind of in the thought, and obviously this year, like, it's just not, things aren't going to be possible, which is fine, but there's a few plans with some friends. Like, me and one of my best pals are still talking about doing a podcast ourselves about it. We had kind of been ready to go, then obviously this year happened, and it's just, I think when the time is right that will happen, but we're still we talk quite a lot about it, and I think when that kind of thing has to kind of happen organically with Susan's boat as well, you know. But she's really on board and loves the project. Then I was kind of like, I'm looking at maybe trying to get into like maybe more of the health promotion side of things, kind of work wise. Maybe go back and study. Maybe, I mean, I don't know, but I definitely know that it's where I want my career to go in.
Interesting.
I hope to stay in the homeless sector because I love the homeless sector, but like I don't know yet, but it's definitely given me enough kind of motivation and ammunition, I suppose, to kind of go, this is something that's really worthwhile, you know. So I'm not really sure yet. I saw one course that I liked, and it's in health promotion. So being part of research and being part of like what it looks like outside of Ireland, like what does loneliness look like in other societies, in other cultures? Is it the same taboo? Is it accepted? Is it whatever? I don't know. So I suppose being able to reach further afield with that and get a really good understanding, because it's just, I find it really interesting. But yeah, I'd be interested to see if I can get my career moving in that direction. Hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just what's popped into my head that I wanted to say when you were talking about when you can't experience nice pleasantness all the time, and actually it's incredibly normal for you to feel all these like anxious or like sad feelings. I also feel like these are reminders of what it feels like to be alive. Like even if you could just, like, for me anyway, when I'm feeling nervous or when I'm like a bit sad or something, I kind of like take the step back and go, oh, like I'm alive. Like, this is
Yeah,
what I need.
yeah.
And it's the same with like when I'm laughing a lot, or when I'm like running or whatever, just doing something I love.
Yeah.
It's like, it's still a reminder that like you're like a human.
Yeah.
This is a human reaction.
Yeah.
you're alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Before we close, it's been fantastic.
It's been great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
We ask our guests, how do they keep on top of their mental health?
Okay.
And so yeah, this can be anything. This can be.
I would recommend for anyone who's interested to do is get a dog. I'm telling you now. It is. I have had my dog for the last year, and I've always grown up with dogs, but this is my dog where I live in my house, and yeah, get a dog. Or get a pet. Get something that like is furry and loves you, and you want.
To be fair, your dog is just the happiest dog
Isn't
of all
he?
time. Like,
Oh, he's amazing, and he turns 3 on the 9th of October. Not that anyone cares, but I do. But that kind of thing, but you know, with him, he gets me out running, he gets me out walking. I'm sure you've established by now I'm good at talking, but I look after myself by doing things I'm interested in as well. Like, I like painting and stuff like that. So I think when I find myself going a bit too all over the place or a bit overwhelmed, I try and kind of focus on things I can do in that day. So we were saying before about like wishing our lives away, you know, kind of going, I can't wait for this next year. I can't wait for that. So we said it before the podcast recorded, just in case it sounds like, but you know, the idea of like not waiting for the next thing to happen. And I find I do that quite a lot. So being able to kind of go, right, what am I doing today? I'm going to walk the dog. I'm going to try and get stuck in that picture. So just trying to be present. And that's way easier said than done, but that's how I would try. Very long-winded way to answer that question, but that's kind of how I would do it. Is try and focus on what I want to achieve today.
For sure.
I think in these times as well, it can get really, really overwhelming. You know, and I think a few of my friends talk about like getting fatigued by it. Things seem to feel a bit heavy sometimes. So, as you said, breathe in. You know, kind of you're alive. If you're feeling certain things, you're alive. You know, it's quite important. So yeah, in a way.
I read this article the other day, and the article I think was titled what to do when you feel like the future is kind of, I forget the word he used, but you know, now we have this time where the future is always uncertain. Like, we don't know what's happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
But now it's like, you know, amplified. Like, we really like shit could hit the fan tomorrow. You don't know.
I know.
And I was talking to my friend yesterday about this and how, you know, so like I have this new developed idea where, not developed idea, but I'm thinking, so people talk about resilience a lot now. These people are resilient or whatever. And I think you build resilience in two main ways, okay?
Right.
So one is probably like our parents who have been through like 2 recessions, you know, a lot of death, a lot of just like tough times, and now they're used to it. You know? It's just like, okay. So and so. And then there's another way where I think if we kind of take a step back and maybe ask ourselves, what is guaranteed tomorrow, or like what do we have today that might not happen tomorrow? And like the reality is we don't know. Like,
that's so yeah.
And that if you literally just choose, like, this helps me so much. Like, if you just choose to go like today, okay, like this is not guaranteed tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what will happen to the house tomorrow. I don't know what happened to my dad, or etc.
Yeah.
But, like, this is it. And then it's still tough. Like, it's still a very tough time we're in. But it makes you realize, like, oh, okay, like don't wish it. Like, don't, like, if your existence is that in 2 years it's not going to be that bad.
No,
that can't be life. You know?
No, it can't be.
Well, I
no.
don't want it to be my life.
No, me neither. No way. Because, like, I don't know about you, but like, I'm really bad at planning. So like, I thought like things I planned they never work out exactly. But that's fine, because life has been different. Like, if you said, like, choosing things that are different, or choosing things as they come up. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You're right. You don't know what opportunities will come up or whatever. But yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it for sure.
My mate Will, who's been on this podcast, he always says, or he says this several times, he goes, "Who knows? Not you."
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah, absolutely. And like, I find kind of reassurance in that sometimes. I find kind of like it's out of your control. I can't worry about that because it's totally out of my control. You know, I worry about something else in front of me, you know, or nothing if I can. Yeah.
I can't remember. I'm trying to remember the story now, but it was something along the lines of like a Western approach to not having control or things being out of control, and then an Eastern approach to out of control, and then the Eastern approach is it's not in our control. Like, what are we worrying about? It's completely like. And then the Western approach, like, oh my God, no, we can't control this. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, you know? It's
totally like same reality, but it's just you're.
Yeah. That's so totally. Because we're always reminded of you know, things are out of your control. In fact, we have to be constantly reminded of that, as we're always kind of on edge, going, "Oh shit, can I do that?" Yeah, totally.
Well, I think I have a suggestion though. Do you think it would be cool if we could, like, to really visualize, for people to visualize how happy your dog is? Do you think that we could get a picture of your dog when we release this episode?
Yeah. Oh my God, of course.
Deadly. Okay.
Oh my God, I love that.
So then the next month or two, you just have to check out the perfect picture.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah, absolutely. Don't worry, I have plenty to send. Perfect.
That's amazing.
Yeah, big happy head in them.
Well, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it, and it's been so nice to do this.
And also, if anybody listening wants to subscribe to this.
Oh yeah. So it's all one word. Let's talk about loneliness @gmail.com. So that's it. If you send me an email, send me an email. There's also the blog that's connected to it as well, but it's just called Let's Talk About Loneliness.com. But you can get me through the Gmail as well. I'll just add you to the list. Or any suggestions for emails, any articles, anything like that. I'm always up for sharing them out.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi guys. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review if you haven't already. Every review helps us climb the podcast charts so that even more of you can listen to our amazing guests. We really appreciate the support. Remember to tune in next week. But until then, keep safe and have a good one.